Jonathan was a hardworking man who lived in a small town with his only son, Samuel. Jonathan had raised Samuel alone ever since his wife passed away when Samuel was just a baby. Life wasn't easy for Jonathan, but he was determined to give his son the best life he could. Jonathan worked as a carpenter, building furniture and repairing houses for the people in town. He taught Samuel everything he knew about tools, wood, and how to work with his hands. Samuel, always eager to learn, admired his father and wanted to grow up to be just like him. Jonathan and Samuel shared a small, cozy house on the edge of town. The house was simple, but it was filled with love. Every evening after work, they would sit together by the fire, sharing stories, and talking about their dreams. Jonathan would often tell Samuel about the world beyond their little town. One day, "Son, you'll grow up and see all the places I've only heard about," Jonathan would say with a hopeful smile. Samuel loved hearing about cities, mountains, and oceans that seemed so far away from their quiet life. As Samuel grew older, he became more skilled in carpentry. Jonathan was proud of his son's progress and would often let Samuel help with bigger projects. By the time Samuel was a teenager, he could build a chair, a table, or even fix a roof on his own. The townspeople began to notice Samuel's talents and often came to their small workshop asking for his help. Samuel felt proud to be working alongside his father, but a part of him also longed for more. He had dreams of leaving the town one day and exploring the world, just like his father had always talked about. Jonathan, however, never spoke of leaving. He was content with his life in the town, working with his hands and raising his son. He had sacrificed much for Samuel, and though he missed his wife dearly, Samuel was his greatest joy. Jonathan often worried that Samuel's dreams of leaving would take him away one day, and the thought made him anxious. He didn't want to hold his son back, but he also feared what life would be like if Samuel left. One summer afternoon, while they were working on a new table for a neighbor, Samuel spoke up. "Father, have you ever thought about leaving this town? Seeing the world beyond?" Jonathan paused, wiping the sweat from his brow. He had been expecting this conversation for a while, but hearing the words still caught him off guard. "I've thought about it, son," Jonathan said carefully. "But life here is enough for me. It's where I belong." Samuel looked down at the table they were working on. "I love it here too, but sometimes I wonder what's out there, beyond the hills, beyond the fields. Don't you want to know?" Jonathan sighed, setting down his tools. "When I was your age, I dreamed of traveling, of seeing new places. But then life changed. Your mother and I settled here, and when she passed away, you became my world. I had responsibilities, and those dreams faded." "I understand that, Father," Samuel said gently. "But I want to see those places. I want to experience more before I settle down." Jonathan nodded, his heart heavy. "I know, Samuel. You're young, and it's natural to want more. I've always worried about what would happen if you left. I don't want to lose you." "You won't lose me, Father," Samuel said firmly. "You've given me everything, and I'll always come back. But I need to find my own way too." Jonathan sat quietly for a moment, thinking about Samuel's words. He knew he couldn't hold his son back, but the idea of Samuel leaving filled him with fear. He remembered his own dreams, long ago, and how life had changed them. He didn't want Samuel to give up on his dreams, but he also didn't want to be left behind. Finally, Jonathan spoke. "If you want to go, Samuel, I won't stop you. But know this, you will always have a home here. This place, this workshop, will always be waiting for you." Samuel smiled, relieved to hear his father's words. "Thank you, Father. I'll come back, I promise." Over the next few months, Samuel worked hard, saving every penny he could. He wanted to travel, to see new places, but he also wanted to make sure his father was taken care of. Jonathan watched his son prepare for the journey with mixed emotions. He was proud of Samuel's ambition, but each step closer to his departure made Jonathan feel lonelier. The day finally came when Samuel packed his bags and stood at the door, ready to leave. Jonathan tried to hold back his tears, but it was hard. He hugged his son tightly, holding on a little longer than usual. "Be safe, Samuel. And remember, no matter how far you go, this will always be your home." "I know, Father," Samuel said, his voice full of emotion. "I'll be back before you know it." With one last look at the house and the workshop, Samuel set off on his journey. Jonathan stood at the doorway, watching his son disappear down the road. He felt a deep ache in his chest, but he also felt a sense of pride. His son was brave enough to chase his dreams, something Jonathan hadn't done. As much as he would miss Samuel, he knew this was the right thing for him. Months passed, and Samuel sent letters from the places he visited. He wrote about the people he met, the cities he saw, and the experiences he had. Each letter was filled with excitement and wonder. Jonathan read every word with pride, but he also missed his son more than ever. The workshop felt empty without Samuel's laughter and company. Jonathan kept himself busy with work, but the silence in the house was deafening. One day, after nearly a year had passed, a letter arrived from Samuel. It was different from the others. Samuel wrote that he had found a place where he felt at home, a place where he wanted to stay for a while. He had met people who became like family to him, and he had found work doing what he loved, carpentry. The letter was full of happiness, but it also made Jonathan feel a little lost. He had always imagined Samuel coming back to the town, but now it seemed like his son had found a new home. Jonathan didn't know how to respond. He was happy for Samuel, but he also felt the sting of being left behind. For days, he thought about what to say, but no words came. He spent his evenings alone, staring at the empty chair where Samuel used to sit, and wondering if he had made the right choice in letting his son go. One evening, as Jonathan was closing the workshop, he heard a knock on the door. He opened it to find Samuel standing there, smiling, with a small bag slung over his shoulder. "Father," Samuel said, "I'm home." Jonathan's heart leaped with joy. He pulled Samuel into a tight hug, unable to speak for a moment. "You're back," Jonathan finally said, his voice thick with emotion. "I told you I'd come back," Samuel said with a grin. "I missed you." They sat by the fire that evening, just like they used to, and Samuel told Jonathan about all the things he had seen and done. He spoke of the people he had met, the places he had worked, and the lessons he had learned. Jonathan listened, his heart swelling with pride. His son had grown into a man, strong and confident, but still the same Samuel he had raised. "I've learned so much, Father," Samuel said as the fire crackled softly. "But I realized something while I was away. No matter where I go, this place will always be home. You will always be home." Jonathan smiled, his eyes wet with tears. "And I'll always be here, son. This will always be your place." Samuel stayed in the town for a few weeks, helping Jonathan with work and enjoying the peace of home. But after some time, the call of adventure came again. Samuel knew he couldn't stay forever, and Jonathan knew it too. When the day came for Samuel to leave again, Jonathan didn't feel the same sadness as before. He knew his son would always return, and he knew that Samuel's journey was just beginning. Before Samuel left, he made a promise. "I'll keep coming back, Father. No matter how far I go, this will always be where I return." Jonathan smiled, proud of the man his son had become. "And I'll be here, waiting for you." As Samuel walked away, Jonathan watched him with a sense of peace. He had raised his son well, and now Samuel was finding his own way in the world. Jonathan knew that their bond, built on love, trust, and shared dreams, would never be broken.